Elliot's phone buzzed on the bar counter, the screen flashing Jasper. "We're done." 2 words, cold as the Seattle rain outside, sliced through their heart like a blade. They stared at the text, the world blurring as tequila burned their throat, wondering how love could vanish in a single night. The bar, a dimly lit dive called the Rusty Anchor, smelled of stale beer and regret. Elliot, 28, non-binary, with purple hair sticking out from under a beanie, slumped over their 3rd shot. Jasper had been their anchor, 2 years of late-night talks, shared playlists, and dreams of a future in a cozy Capitol Hill apartment. Now that future was a ghost. The breakup text came after months of Jasper pulling away, his excuses piling up like unpaid bills. "Work's crazy. I need space. You're too much." Elliot's fingers hovered over the phone, itching to type a desperate why, but pride or maybe the tequila stopped them. They glanced around, the bar's neon glow casting shadows on strangers' faces. A group of tech bros laughed too loudly in the corner, and a jukebox wailed an old Nirvana song. Elliot's chest tightened. They weren't supposed to be here, drowning in cheap liquor on a Wednesday night. They were supposed to be at Jasper's, cooking tacos and arguing over which Star Wars movie was best. Instead, they were alone, the weight of rejection pressing down like the city's gray clouds. "Another?" The bartender, a grizzled man with a Seahawks tattoo, asked. Elliot nodded, barely looking up. "Make it quick." The shot arrived, but so did trouble. Across the bar, a familiar figure loomed, Malik, their boss. Tall, 30, with a neatly trimmed beard and a navy blazer that screamed "I'm straight and successful." Malik was the last person Elliot wanted to see. He ran the marketing firm where Elliot worked as a graphic designer, a job they loved despite the long hours. Malik was all charm with clients but had a reputation for being stiff with his team, especially anyone who didn't fit his polished world. And Elliot, with their piercings and thrift store aesthetic, definitely didn't. "Elliot." Malik's voice cut through the bar's din as he approached, a glass of bourbon in hand. "Didn't expect to see you here." They froze, the shot glass halfway to their lips. "Yeah, well, life's full of surprises," they muttered, hoping he'd leave. He didn't. Instead, he slid onto the stool beside them, his cologne sharp and expensive. "Rough night." Elliot laughed bitterly. "You could say that." They didn't elaborate. No way were they spilling their guts to Malik, who probably thought heartbreak was a myth and emotions were for performance reviews. But the tequila had other plans. One shot turned into 3, and soon Elliot was ranting about Jasper, about love, about how the universe seemed hell-bent on screwing them over. Malik listened, his dark eyes steady, nodding in a way that felt oddly human. Maybe it was the bourbon loosening him up, or maybe he wasn't the corporate robot Elliot had pegged him for. Either way, they kept talking, words spilling like the rain outside. Hours later, the bar was a haze. Elliot stumbled out into the wet Seattle night, Malik steadying them as they swayed. The world spun, and before they could stop it, their stomach lurched. They doubled over and, horror of horrors, threw up on Malik's pristine leather shoes. "Oh, God," Elliot groaned, wiping their mouth, mortified. "I'm so sorry." Malik stared at his ruined shoes, then at Elliot, his expression unreadable. For a moment, they braced for a lecture, maybe even a firing. Instead, he laughed, a deep, warm sound that cut through the cold. "You owe me new shoes," he said, shaking his head. "Come on, let's get you home." The next morning, Elliot woke to a pounding headache and a flood of shame. Their tiny studio apartment in Fremont smelled of coffee and regret. The memory of vomiting on Malik's shoes played on a loop, each replay worse than the last. They checked their phone. No text from Jasper, but a notification from work. A team meeting at 10 a.m. Great. Facing Malik sober was going to be torture. At the office, a sleek glass building downtown, Elliot slunk to their desk, hoping to blend into the background. But Malik was already there, leaning against the coffee machine, looking infuriatingly perfect in a fresh suit. No sign of last night's disaster clung to him, unlike Elliot, whose purple hair was a mess and whose eyes screamed hangover. "Morning," Malik said, his tone neutral but his eyes glinting with something. "Amusement? Pity?" Elliot mumbled a reply, avoiding his gaze. The meeting was worse. Malik presented the firm's new campaign for a local coffee chain, and Elliot's designs were front and center. He praised their work, calling it bold and authentic, words that made their cheeks burn. Was he being sarcastic? Or was this his way of pretending last night never happened? After the meeting, Malik called them into his office. Elliot braced for the worst, but instead, he handed them a coffee. "You look like you need this," he said, a faint smile tugging at his lips. "And don't worry about the shoes. They're replaceable." Elliot blinked, caught off guard. Thanks. I'm still sorry." He waved it off. "Life happens. Just don't make it a habit." That should have been the end of it, but it wasn't. Over the next week, Malik kept finding excuses to talk to Elliot, asking for their input on projects, dropping by their desk with random questions about typography or color theory. It was weird. He was their boss, not their friend. And yet, there was something disarming about him, a warmth beneath the polished exterior that Elliot hadn't noticed before. Then came the company happy hour. Another bar, another chance to screw up. Elliot swore they'd stick to soda, but the team's energy was infectious. Sophia, a 32-year-old Latina copywriter with a laugh that could light up a room, dragged them onto the dance floor. Theo, a 29-year-old white guy from IT with a nerdy charm, joined in, his flannel shirt flapping as he attempted a two-step. The night felt alive, a stark contrast to the loneliness of the week before. Malik was there too, watching from the sidelines, his bourbon glass ever present. When Elliot caught his eye, he raised it in a mock toast. They rolled their eyes but smiled despite themselves. Maybe he wasn't so bad. But Jasper wasn't done haunting them. Late that night, as Elliot checked their phone, a new text appeared. "Can we talk? I miss you." Their heart lurched, torn between hope and rage. They typed a reply, then deleted it. The wound was too fresh, the betrayal too raw. They needed to move forward, not back. As the night wound down, Malik offered to walk Elliot to their bus stop. The Seattle streets were quiet, the air crisp with autumn. "You're not as bad as I thought," Elliot admitted, their breath visible in the cold. Malik chuckled. "High praise." He paused, then added, "You're not what I expected either." Elliot raised an eyebrow. "What's that supposed to mean?" He shrugged, his smile cryptic. "You'll see." Elliot's life began to feel like a tightrope walk, balancing the chaos of their heart and the unexpected warmth of Malik's attention. Jasper's late-night text lingered like a bruise, but Elliot refused to respond. Instead, they threw themselves into work, their designs for the coffee campaign earning praise that felt like a lifeline. The office became a strange refuge. Sophia, with her endless optimism, became a fast friend, always ready with a quip or a coffee run. Theo, the IT guy, started joining them for lunch, his dry humor a perfect counterpoint to Sophia's energy. But it was Malik who kept Elliot on edge. His casual check-ins felt less like a boss's oversight and more like something else. A late-night email about a project deadline would end with a random question. "Ever been to the new art gallery on Pike?" A quick chat about fonts would veer into a story about his college days in Atlanta. Elliot didn't know what to make of it. One rainy afternoon, Malik called Elliot into his office again. "We're pitching to a new client," he said, tossing a folder onto his desk. "A queer-owned bookstore in Belltown. I want you on the creative lead." Elliot's jaw dropped. Me? Why? Your work speaks for itself, Malik said, leaning back in his chair. And you get it. The community, the vibe. They'll trust you. The words hit harder than expected. Jasper had always dismissed Elliot's identity, rolling his eyes at their pronouns and calling their activism performative. To hear Malik, of all people, acknowledge it so matter-of-factly felt like a small revolution. They dove into the project, sketching logos and brainstorming taglines with Sophia and Theo. The bookstore, Rainbow Reads, was a cozy haven run by a couple named Lena and Marcus, who wanted a campaign that celebrated queer stories without pandering. Elliot poured their heart into it, staying late to perfect every detail. Malik noticed, often lingering after hours to offer feedback or just talk. One night, as rain battered the office windows, he brought takeout from a nearby Thai place. You didn't have to do this, Elliot said, digging into pad Thai. Malik shrugged, his tie loosened for once. You're working late. Least I can do. They ate in comfortable silence, the kind that felt like a bridge being built. Elliot caught themselves staring at Malik's hands, strong and steady, and quickly looked away. He was their boss. Straight, probably. Definitely not someone to get stupid over. But the lines kept blurring. At a team outing to a local music festival, Malik showed up in jeans and a t-shirt, a far cry from his usual suits. He laughed with Sophia, teased Theo about his terrible dance moves, and even dragged Elliot into a crowd to dance to a local indie band. His hand brushed theirs, and Elliot's pulse raced. It was nothing, they told themselves. Just a moment. Then Jasper showed up. Elliot spotted him across the festival, his blonde hair unmistakable under a streetlight. He was with someone new, a guy who looked like he'd stepped out of a Patagonia ad. Elliot's stomach twisted. They turned to leave, but Jasper saw them first. Elliot, he called, weaving through the crowd. Can we talk? Every instinct screamed to run, but pride rooted them to the spot. What do you want, Jasper? He looked earnest, his green eyes wide. I messed up. I miss you. Can we just start over? The words were a punch, reopening every wound. Before Elliot could respond, Malik appeared at their side, his presence steadying. Everything okay? He asked, his voice calm but firm. Jasper's gaze flicked to Malik, then back to Elliot. Who's this? My boss, Elliot said, their voice tight. And I'm done talking. They walked away, Malik at their side, the festival's music fading into a dull roar. You good? Malik asked, his tone soft. Elliot nodded, though their chest ached. Thanks for whatever that was. Malik smiled, just a little. Anytime. The bookstore pitch was a hit. Lena and Marcus loved Elliot's designs, and the campaign launched with a packed event at Rainbow Reads. The store was a riot of color, with pride flags and bookshelves bursting with stories. Elliot felt a flicker of pride, something they hadn't felt since Jasper's text shattered them. After the event, Malik invited the team to celebrate at a nearby bar. Elliot hesitated but went, drawn by the pull of connection. The night was warm, the bar buzzing with laughter and clinking glasses. Sophia proposed a toast to Elliot, calling them the heart of the project. Theo chimed in, joking about their artistic brooding. Malik raised his glass last, his eyes locking with Elliot's. To finding your voice, he said, and the words felt like they meant more than the campaign. As the night wore on, Elliot stepped outside for air. Malik followed, his footsteps quiet on the pavement. You did good tonight, he said, leaning against the wall. Elliot laughed, a little shaky. I didn't throw up on you this time, so yeah, progress. He chuckled, then grew serious. You're more than you give yourself credit for, Elliot. Don't let anyone, ex or otherwise, make you feel less. The words landed like a spark. Elliot looked at him, really looked, and saw something raw in his eyes. Not pity, not obligation, something real. Their hearts stuttered, but before they could speak, Sophia burst out, dragging them back inside for karaoke. The moment passed, but it left a mark. Elliot started noticing the little things. Malik's quiet support, his unexpected humor, the way he listened. They wondered if they were imagining it, projecting hope onto someone unavailable. But the thought lingered, growing roots. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind of work and tentative hope. Elliot's designs for rainbow reeds went viral online, earning the firm new clients and Elliot a rare sense of purpose. But Jasper's shadow lingered. His texts came sporadically. "I'm sorry, can we meet?" Each one a tug at old wounds. Elliot ignored them, but the effort took its toll. Malik, meanwhile, was a constant. He didn't push, didn't pry, but his presence was steady. A coffee left on Elliot's desk. A quiet nod during a stressful meeting. A shared laugh over Theo's obsession with vintage keyboards. It was disorienting, this slow unraveling of the man Elliot had once written off as a corporate stereotype. One evening, as they worked late on a new pitch, Malik opened up. "I wasn't always this guy," he said, gesturing to his suit. "Grew up in a small town outside Atlanta. My dad thought marketing was a soft career. Wanted me to be a lawyer." Elliot raised an eyebrow. "And you picked this instead?" He grinned. "I'm stubborn. Plus, I like telling stories. Like you do with your art." The comparison caught Elliot off guard. They'd never thought of their designs as storytelling, but Malik's words made them see it differently. The conversation shifted to personal territory. Malik mentioned a college girlfriend, a breakup that had left him reeling. "Took me a year to realize I was better off," he said. "Sometimes you gotta let go to find what's real." Elliot's throat tightened. Easier said than done. He nodded, his gaze steady. "Yeah, but you're stronger than you think." The moment felt fragile, like it could shatter with a wrong word. Elliot changed the subject, but the air between them had shifted. Something was building, and it scared them as much as it thrilled them. Sophia noticed it first. "You and Malik are getting cozy," she teased one lunch break, her eyes sparkling. Elliot choked on their sandwich. "He's my boss, and straight." "Aha," Sophia said, unconvinced. "He looks at you like you're the only person in the room." Theo, munching on chips, nodded. "She's not wrong. Dude's got a vibe." Elliot brushed it off, but the words stuck. They started watching Malik closer, catching the way his smile softened when they spoke, the way he lingered after meetings. It was dangerous territory, and Elliot wasn't ready to trust their heart again. Then came the company retreat, a weekend in a cabin near Mount Rainier, meant to build team synergy. Elliot dreaded it, too much forced bonding, but Sophia and Theo convinced them to go. The cabin was stunning, nestled in a forest with views of snow-capped peaks. The team hiked, played board games, and roasted marshmallows. Malik was different here, relaxed in a way Elliot hadn't seen. He led a hike, told stories about his childhood, and even joined Theo in a terrible rendition of Bohemian Rhapsody around the campfire. On the second night, Elliot couldn't sleep. They slipped outside, the stars bright above the trees. Malik was there, sitting on a bench, a blanket around his shoulders. "Can't sleep either?" he asked. Elliot shook their head, sitting beside him. The silence was comfortable, the night alive with crickets and the distant howl of a wolf. "You ever feel like you're running from something?" Elliot asked, their voice barely above a whisper. Malik looked at them, his expression unreadable. All the time, they wanted to ask what he meant, but the words caught. Instead, they sat together, the blanket brushing their shoulders, the stars a quiet witness. For the first time in weeks, Elliot felt like they could breathe. But Jasper wasn't done. The next morning, as the team packed up, Elliot's phone buzzed. A voicemail this time. "Elliot, I need to see you. I'm in Seattle. Please." The desperation in his voice was a knife, twisting old promises. Elliot didn't tell anyone, but Sophia saw their face. "What's wrong?" she asked, pulling them aside. They showed her the voicemail. Sophia's eyes narrowed. "Don't let him drag you back. You're worth more than that." Elliot nodded, but the words felt hollow. They deleted the voicemail, but Jasper's voice echoed. Back in Seattle, work resumed, but Elliot was distracted. Malik noticed, his usual warmth tempered with concern. "You okay?" he asked one afternoon, catching them staring out the office window. Elliot hesitated, then told him about Jasper's voicemail. Malik listened, his jaw tight. "You don't owe him anything," he said finally. "You deserve someone who sees you." The words were simple, but they hit like a tidal wave. Elliot met his gaze, searching for a hint of what lay beneath. For a moment, they thought he might say more, but he just squeezed their shoulder and walked away. The tension between Elliot and Malik grew, a quiet current under the surface of their daily routine. Work kept them close. Late nights on projects, quick coffees between meetings, but every glance, every brush of hands, felt charged. Elliot tried to dismiss it as wishful thinking. Malik was straight, their boss, a line they couldn't cross. But the way he looked at them, like he saw every piece of their fractured heart, made it hard to stay rational. Jasper's persistence didn't help. His texts escalated, each one more desperate. "I'm at the coffee shop on 5th. Please just talk to me." Elliot ignored them, but the weight of his words pressed down, a reminder of the love they'd lost. They confided in Sophia, who was blunt. "He's playing you," she said, stirring her latte. "Don't let him ruin what you're building here." Elliot knew she was right, but knowing and feeling were different beasts. One evening, the team stayed late to finish a pitch. Malik ordered pizza, and the office turned into a makeshift party, with Theo blasting a playlist and Sophia telling stories about her disastrous dating history. Elliot laughed, but their mind was elsewhere. When the others left, they stayed to tweak a design, and Malik lingered too. "You don't have to babysit me," Elliot said, half joking. Malik leaned against their desk, his tie gone, sleeves rolled up. "Not babysitting, just here." The air felt thick, the office quiet except for the hum of the air conditioning. Elliot's heart raced. "Why are you so nice to me?" they asked, the question slipping out before they could stop it. Malik didn't answer right away. He looked at them, his eyes soft but intense. "Because you're worth it," he said finally. "And I see you, Elliot. All of you." The words stole their breath. They wanted to ask what he meant, to push past the fear, but the moment was interrupted by Theo bursting back in, forgetting his phone. The spell broke, but the words lingered. The breaking point came at a client event at Rainbow Reads. The bookstore was packed, the air buzzing with excitement for a new queer author's reading. Elliot was there, representing the firm, their designs plastered on posters and bookmarks. Malik was there too, charming the crowd, but his eyes kept finding Elliot's. After the reading, Jasper appeared. He stood in the doorway, his face pale, his eyes locked on Elliot. "I need to talk to you," he said, his voice shaking. Elliot's stomach dropped. "Not here," they said, leading him outside. The street was quiet, the night cool. "I messed up," Jasper said, his hands in his pockets. "I was scared, okay? I didn't know how to handle us. But I love you, Elliot. I want you back." The words were everything Elliot had once wanted, but now they felt like a trap. You left me, they said, their voice steady despite the ache. You didn't even try to fix it. You just walked away. I know, Jasper said, stepping closer. But I'm here now. Before Elliot could respond, Malik stepped outside. Elliot, you okay? His voice was calm, but his posture was protective. Jasper's eyes narrowed. This your new thing? He asked, gesturing to Malik. Elliot's anger flared. He's my friend, and he's been there for me when you weren't. Jasper's face twisted, but he backed off. Fine, your loss. He walked away, disappearing into the night. Elliot's knees felt weak, but Malik was there, his hand on their arm. You did good, he said softly. You stood your ground. They looked at him, tears prickling their eyes. I don't know what I'm doing, they admitted. Malik smiled, his hand lingering. You're figuring it out, and you're not alone. The ride back to the office was quiet, but the silence was warm. When they reached the parking lot, Malik hesitated. Elliot, I need to tell you something. Their heart stopped. What? He took a breath, his eyes searching theirs. I don't know what this is, but I feel something. For you. And it scares the hell out of me. Elliot froze, the world narrowing to his words. You're straight, they said, almost a whisper. I thought so, Malik said, his voice raw. But then I met you. The admission hung between them, fragile and real. Elliot wanted to reach out, to close the distance, but fear held them back. They'd been burned before. Could they trust this? Elliot's world tilted after Malik's confession. The parking lot, lit by the soft glow of streetlights, felt like a stage where everything could change or break. They stood frozen, his words echoing. I feel something. For you. I don't know what to say, Elliot admitted, their voice barely audible. Malik stepped closer, his eyes steady. You don't have to say anything. Just don't run. They didn't, but the fear was there, a shadow of Jasper's betrayal. Elliot wanted to believe Malik, to trust the warmth in his gaze, but their heart was a battlefield. They nodded, a small gesture, and Malik smiled, a smile that felt like a promise. The next few weeks were a dance of caution and courage. Malik didn't push, but he was there. Small gestures, like leaving a sketchbook on Elliot's desk with a note. For your next masterpiece. They talked more, not just about work but about dreams, fears, the messy stuff of life. Malik opened up about his own struggles. Growing up Black in a small town, navigating expectations, questioning who he was. Elliot shared their journey, the years spent carving out their identity, the pain of being misunderstood. Each conversation built something new, fragile but real. Sophia and Theo were relentless cheerleaders. You two are basically a rom-com, Sophia said one day, grinning over her coffee. Elliot groaned. He's still my boss, and it's complicated. Theo smirked. Life's complicated. Go for it. But complications came. The firm landed a huge client, a national chain, and the workload doubled. Malik was swamped, and Elliot threw themselves into their designs, the pressure a welcome distraction. Yet, every late night, every shared glance, pulled them closer. One evening, as they finalized a presentation, Malik's hand brushed theirs over a laptop. Neither pulled away. I'm scared, Elliot admitted, their voice soft. Malik nodded. Me too. But I want this. I want us. The words broke something open in Elliot. They leaned in, and Malik met them halfway. Their kiss tentative but electric, like the first rain of spring. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. The news spread quietly. Sophia and Theo were thrilled, though Sophia demanded all the details. The office was supportive, but whispers followed, questions about professionalism, about Malik's sudden shift. Elliot felt the weight, but Malik faced it head-on, addressing the team with a quiet confidence. "Elliot's the best thing that's happened to me," he said simply. "We're figuring it out, and we'll keep it professional." Jasper's final text came a month later. "I'm happy for you." Elliot deleted it without replying. They didn't need his validation anymore. The turning point came at a spring picnic in a Seattle park, organized by Rainbow Reeds to celebrate their campaign's success. Cherry blossoms bloomed, and the air was alive with laughter. Sophia brought a picnic basket, Theo strummed his guitar, and Malik and Elliot sat together, hands intertwined. The moment was simple, but it held everything: love, trust, the courage to start again. Elliot looked at Malik, his smile warm against the golden light. "I didn't think I'd get here," they said. Malik squeezed their hand. "You did. We did." The journey wasn't over. There would be challenges, work, doubts, the world's noise. But in that moment, under the blossoms, Elliot knew they'd found something worth fighting for. Not just love, but the strength to be themselves, to choose their own path, to build a future that wasn't defined by pain but by possibility. And as the sun set, casting a glow over the park, Elliot felt it. A quiet, fierce hope. They weren't just surviving anymore. They were living.